There's a secret list in Hollywood, names you'd never expect, who've quietly aligned themselves with Scientology, and some are hiding it for a reason. From Oscar-winning actors to billion-dollar producers, today we'll uncover the A-listers, their hidden ties, and the unsettling reasons why they won't talk about it. Quick challenge. Which of these celebrities do you think is a Scientologist? A. Will Smith, B. Jennifer Lopez, or C. Chris Pratt? Drop your guesses in the comments. One answer may surprise you the most. What if religion wasn't just a belief system, but a Hollywood business model? When L. Ron Hubbard founded Scientology in the 1950s, he didn't just want to spread ideas. He wanted to influence culture. He realized something long before most institutions did. Celebrities don't just reflect society, they shape it. So, instead of building churches in quiet suburbs, he built one in the heart of Los Angeles and called it the Celebrity Center. It wasn't just symbolic, it was a recruitment strategy. High-profile actors were given personalized handlers, elite auditing sessions, and exclusive networking opportunities. By the 1980s, Scientology had embedded itself deep into the entertainment industry's bloodstream. Actors weren't just joining a faith. They were joining an infrastructure that could offer mentorship, protection, and, in some cases, career advancement. If you wanted to rise fast in Hollywood, the church wasn't just an option. It was a shortcut. They didn't target fame, they engineered it. Most celebrities endorse causes. Tom Cruise became one. His relationship with Scientology didn't just change his personal life, it reshaped the entire public face of the church. Cruise was brought in during a career downturn in the 80s, but what followed wasn't just spiritual transformation, it was a full-scale recalibration of his image, guided by the church itself. Insiders say Cruise was surrounded by advisors tasked with improving every facet of his life. Coaching his public interviews, orchestrating romantic relationships, even advising on which projects he should accept. He didn't just get support, he got a brand overhaul. What's more chilling is how publicly aligned he became. From shouting about Scientology on Oprah to calling psychiatry a pseudoscience on national television, Cruise's identity and the church's doctrine became inseparable. And the payoff? A rebirth in the public eye. Bigger box office numbers, more control, more prestige. It wasn't just belief, it was strategy. Cruise wasn't converted, he was curated. Some stars shout their affiliations from the rooftops, but in Scientology, silence is often more strategic than speech. There's a category of celebrities who've long been linked to the church, yet they've never confirmed anything directly. Beck was once open about his family ties to Scientology, but since his Grammy wins and bigger spotlight, he's dodged every question. Elizabeth Moss, one of the most critically acclaimed actresses of her generation, has faced repeated pressure to explain her allegiance, especially given the irony of her starring role in The Handmaid's Tale, a show about control and indoctrination. Her answers? Always vague, always deflected. Then there's Will Smith. While he's denied being a Scientologist, his financial support of Scientology-inspired education systems and his associations with known church members have raised more than a few eyebrows. What links all of them is a precise, almost rehearsed ambiguity. They toe the line, never crossing into endorsement or denial. Why? Because sometimes staying neutral is the best way to keep doors open and reputations intact. From the outside, it looks like a luxury hotel. Inside, it's part Hollywood influencer factory, part psychological fortress. The Church of Scientology's Celebrity Center International, nestled in a castle-like building on Franklin Avenue, wasn't built just to impress. It was engineered to entice. From its opulent lobby to its private dining rooms and velvet-draped meeting areas, the space screams exclusivity. Newcomers are lured in with glamour. Invitations to industry parties, personality tests disguised as networking mixers, and courses promising career acceleration. But those sessions often double as introductory indoctrination. Once you're in, you're monitored, groomed, and, allegedly, recorded during auditing sessions. And it's not just aspiring actors walking through those doors. Directors, musicians, producers, all have attended events there, often under the radar. Sources claim that even security is tight, with internal surveillance systems and restricted access floors. The center is less of a church and more of a Hollywood operations hub, designed to keep the famous engaged, invested, and indebted. It's not just about worship, it's about control through comfort. For decades, John Travolta was one of Scientology's most prominent public faces. But after unimaginable tragedy struck his family, cracks began to show in the carefully maintained facade. In 2009, Travolta's 16-year-old son, Jet, tragically passed away during a family trip to the Bahamas. Official reports cited a seizure as the cause, but what followed sparked widespread controversy. Critics accused the church of discouraging psychiatric treatment, which Jet may have needed. Travolta, devastated and silent, retreated from the spotlight. But here's the twist. Travolta later acknowledged his son had autism, a term reportedly avoided within church circles. Some saw this as an indirect challenge to church doctrine, yet despite this subtle break, Travolta remained involved with Scientology, praising it in public interviews and appearing at church events. Why stay loyal? Friends suggest he was torn between genuine belief, grief, and fear of excommunication. Leaving could mean losing not only a support system, but decades of friendships and private church-held information. For Travolta, faith became a prison gilded in loyalty and pain. Sometimes staying isn't weakness, it's survival. Aspiring actors are easy prey, hungry for success, desperate for connection, and often new to LA's brutal entertainment ecosystem. Scientology knows this, and it's weaponized the dream. Young performers often find themselves in workshops that seem innocuous at first, branded as self-improvement courses, emotional mastery training, or career coaching. But beneath the buzzwords lies a curriculum laced with Scientology doctrine. Communication drills, strict ethics codes, and the infamous tone scale, which rates emotions from serenity of beingness to total failure. The trainers? Often seasoned members, many with deep connections to the church's elite Sea Org or even celebrity center. And if a student shows promise, they're nurtured, introduced to higher-level classes, invited to mixers with industry insiders, shown how belief can equal booking. For some, it's seductive. For others, it's a slow-burning trap. In Hollywood, where who you know is everything, Scientology offers young actors a shortcut, but at a cost they won't understand until it's too late. This isn't recruitment, it's grooming, disguised as mentorship. Leah Remini didn't just leave Scientology, she detonated a bomb at its center. A longtime church member since childhood, Remini was once held up as a model Scientologist, but behind the scenes, her questions were piling up, especially around the disappearance of church leader David Miscavige's wife Shelley, who vanished from public view in 2007. When Remini asked about her at Tom Cruise's wedding, she was allegedly punished, interrogated, and reprogrammed. That moment flipped a switch. She left, loudly. What followed was unprecedented. Books, interviews, and her Emmy-winning docuseries, Leah Remini, Scientology in the Aftermath, which gave a platform to dozens of ex-members to tell their stories. Suddenly, the fear that kept many silent began to crack. People who had signed billion-year contracts, who were raised in Sea Org, who had been isolated from their families, started talking. Remini made it okay to question, she made it okay to walk away, and most importantly, she made it okay to fight back. She didn't just expose the system, she shattered its shield of silence. Not every power player wears red carpet couture. In Scientology, some of the most influential figures are the ones you've never heard of. While stars like Tom Cruise command headlines, the true architecture of church influence lies behind the scenes. Veteran screenwriters, casting agents, and producers quietly loyal to the doctrine. These individuals don't preach from pulpits, they shape narratives, fund content, and decide who gets hired. Some control independent production houses with ties to church-aligned financiers, others sit on boards of film festivals, educational nonprofits, and creative guilds. This layer of influence is strategic, quiet, calculated. It allows the church to extend its reach without bearing the burden of celebrity scrutiny. By embedding in the mechanisms that launch careers, Scientology doesn't need every actor to believe, it just needs gatekeepers who belong. One industry insider described it as invisible scaffolding. You don't see it, but it's holding everything up. In Hollywood, the most dangerous allegiance isn't always the loudest, it's the one you never see coming. To outsiders, it sounds like a philosophical disagreement. But inside Scientology, the opposition to psychiatry is an aggressive, all-consuming war. According to the church's teachings, psychiatry is not just flawed, it's dangerous. L. Ron Hubbard positioned it as the root of society's evil, blaming it for everything from mass shootings to the Holocaust. Scientologists are taught that psychiatric medications dull the mind, suppress the spirit, and block the path to true enlightenment. This belief has real-world consequences. Many members refuse psychiatric care, even for serious conditions. In Hollywood, the pressure is even more intense. Actors seeking therapy or taking antidepressants may be quietly pressured to stop. And for those deep inside the church, seeking a diagnosis could be seen as betrayal. Groups like the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, founded by Scientology, stage protests, publish exposés, and run online campaigns targeting psychiatric institutions, medications, and practitioners. This isn't a belief system, it's an organized campaign. When mental health becomes heresy, suffering thrives in silence. In the underbelly of LA's indie scene, strange projects occasionally surface, short films with odd messaging, vague religious overtones, and production credits that vanish on follow-up. Multiple former Scientologists have claimed that these are more than just artistic experiments. They're controlled productions, funded by church-adjacent donors, with carefully chosen actors from inside the community. Their purpose? To spread Scientology principles through storytelling, without ever naming the church. Some scripts are written in coded language, mirroring L. Ron Hubbard's texts. Others promote the tone scale, auditing-like transformations or villains that resemble psychiatrists. The projects are rarely distributed widely but serve another purpose, indoctrinating young actors through the roles they play. Participants are reportedly told these roles will advance their careers. They're sometimes promised agency meetings, red carpet invites, or exposure to casting directors, none of which ever materialize. The camera rolls, the footage is stored, and the actors? They leave with altered beliefs and no idea they were ever the subject of a script written to convert them. It sounds like science fiction, a contract that binds your soul for 1 billion years. But within the elite division of Scientology, known as the Sea Org, this is real. New recruits, sometimes as young as 12 years old, are asked to pledge eternal allegiance to the church. The billion-year contract is symbolic of the soul's reincarnations, and signing it is framed as the ultimate honor. But for the young, it marks the beginning of a life of servitude. Education is limited, outside contact is restricted, days can stretch up to 16 hours of labor, often unpaid. Some of these child recruits grow up entirely within church-run facilities. They're told the outside world is dangerous, that leaving means spiritual destruction, and that even their thoughts are being watched. In Hollywood, Sea Org members are often assigned as personal assistants or handlers for celebrities, managing schedules, scrubbing homes, and maintaining silence. The billion-year contract isn't just doctrine. It's a control mechanism wrapped in cosmic language. And when your childhood is signed away before you can vote, freedom becomes a foreign concept. What happens when a church gathers intel on your darkest secrets and then decides if you're ready to go clear? Multiple ex-members, including former recruiters and handlers, have alleged that Scientology profiles its targets long before official contact is made. Talent scouts and front organizations reportedly identify vulnerabilities. Actors facing financial pressure, those recently dropped by agents, or people recovering from heartbreak, addiction, or family trauma. Once identified, they're subtly approached, offered a role, a free class, or a chance to meet someone important. From there, the love bombing begins. Attention, praise, validation, and once trust is secured, auditing. These sessions appear therapeutic, but they're often recorded. The subject is urged to share intimate details, past traumas, and confessions. One ex-member said it felt like therapy, but with cameras I didn't know existed. Few realize what's happening until they try to leave, and the warmth disappears. Suddenly, the secrets they confessed are wielded like weapons. This isn't faith. It's psychological entrapment, disguised as spiritual progress. There's a reason so few celebrities speak out after leaving Scientology. And it's not just loyalty. Former insiders have long alleged that auditing sessions, which are supposed to be spiritual counseling, are actually covert confessionals, and everything said in them is recorded, transcribed, and stored. One ex-Sea Org staffer claimed there's a vast internal archive filled with the intimate secrets of members, from casual actors to A-listers. Another described it as a library of leverage, a vault of potential blackmail material, quietly tucked away until it's needed. When someone threatens to defect or starts raising questions publicly, that's when the pressure begins. Some say they were reminded of private conversations they'd had years earlier. Others claim rumors began circulating about them within the industry, personal details that only the church could have known. Whether these materials are ever actually used in legal blackmail is still debated. But here's what's clear. The fear of exposure is often enough to keep people silent. In Scientology, confession isn't healing, it's ammunition, loaded, locked, and shelved. What if your high-profile relationship wasn't romantic at all, but orchestrated by your church? For years, rumors have swirled that Scientology has facilitated or even staged romantic partnerships between its celebrity members. And the evidence? Chillingly compelling. Take Tom Cruise. Before Katie Holmes, several women were allegedly screen-tested by the church as potential partners. One of them, actress Nazanin Boniadi, reportedly underwent a grooming process that included changing her hair, her speech patterns, and even breaking up with her then-boyfriend, before being introduced to Cruise. When the relationship didn't work, she was allegedly cast out and punished. Other stories point to church influence over marriages, breakups, and even family dynamics, designed not for love, but for optics. Couples that represent unity, loyalty, the church's ideal. In this ecosystem, relationships aren't sacred, they're tools, assets, public relations campaigns with a romantic filter. And when things end, there's always spin control, press management, and internal damage control. In Scientology, even love isn't yours to own. It's borrowed and monitored. Most people leave quietly. A few, they go nuclear and pay dearly. Jason Begay was one of the first well-known actors to denounce Scientology publicly. His interview in 2008 was raw, furious, and unforgettable. He called the church a brainwashing cult and accused it of manipulating every aspect of his life. Then came Paul Haggis, the Oscar-winning writer-director of Crash. When he found out the church supported anti-LGBTQ+ legislation in California, he confronted leadership and was met with stonewalling. So he left and wrote a scathing, open letter that cracked the foundation wide open. Leah Remini, of course, became the face of defiance, but all three shared a common price. Lawsuits, surveillance, private investigators parked outside their homes, anonymous smear campaigns. They didn't just risk their reputations, they risked everything. Family ties, friendships, safety. But they spoke up, loudly, repeatedly. Because once you've seen the gears behind the machine, you either run or you rip the whole thing apart. If you think the church operates alone, think again. Scientology's grip on Hollywood isn't just about believers. It's about the people who look away, the agents, publicists, attorneys, and execs who know something's off, but say nothing. Why? Because silence pays. Studios want stars who are disciplined and reliable. Talent agents want clients who book consistently. Publicists want stories they can spin. And with Scientology's deep network of image managers, leaks get plugged quickly. There are also high-powered lawyers, many not part of the church, who help enforce silence. NDAs, defamation threats, cease and desists, all wrapped in legal jargon, all meant to suppress what doesn't serve the narrative. Then there are producers who greenlight projects involving known Scientologists, either out of indifference, ignorance, or mutual benefit. One industry source called it a quiet handshake economy. They may not wear badges or chant mantras, but they help keep the machine humming, one red carpet at a time. Scientology isn't dying. It's adapting, quietly, digitally. While traditional membership has reportedly declined, the church has shifted its focus to the one thing it's always pursued with military precision: influence. Only now it's not targeting A-list celebrities, it's targeting influencers. Enter Gen Z. Creators with millions of followers, built-in audiences, and limited experience in the industry. Through soft outreach, coaching programs, self-empowerment courses, stress tests, young creatives are brought into the church's orbit without even realizing it. The language has changed too. Phrases like unlocking potential, overcoming blocks, and high-frequency living mirror Scientology's teachings, but sound like TikTok wellness trends. Some don't even know they've been introduced to church doctrine until they've already posted about it. The Celebrity Center has become a content lab. Scripts are now reels. Recruitment happens in DMs, YouTube collabs, mental health memes. The church doesn't need the movie stars of yesterday, it needs the viral stars of tomorrow, and they're already listening. Here's the hardest pill to swallow. Despite exposés, lawsuits, documentaries, and decades of backlash, the Church of Scientology is still standing. Why? Because it's protected, not just by belief, but by powerful structures: tax exemption, First Amendment protections, high-level legal teams, and millions in real estate that insulate it from financial collapse. Even now, most celebrities who leave stay quiet. The threat of public humiliation, legal warfare, or estrangement from loved ones is enough to keep most defectors in the shadows. But something is shifting. The internet changed the rules. Whisper networks have turned into podcasts. Anonymous accounts share internal documents. Platforms once owned by the church, public perception, narrative framing, are now democratized. It's not just about freedom of religion anymore. It's about freedom from coercion, surveillance, and psychological control. The church may never fall in one sweeping moment, but like a dam cracking under pressure, it may collapse one voice at a time. Beneath the spiritual rhetoric lies one of Scientology's most strategic moves: massive real estate acquisition. With over $2 billion in property worldwide, the church has quietly transformed into a real estate powerhouse. But these aren't just churches, they're fortresses, strategically placed in cultural hotspots: New York, London, Clearwater, and especially Los Angeles. Why does that matter? Because real estate is more than status. It's security. Property holdings allow the church to claim legitimacy, anchor operations, and shelter assets, tax-free. In LA, the church owns historic buildings near Hollywood studios and elite neighborhoods. Some remain nearly empty, functioning more as real estate investments than community centers. Critics argue this isn't about faith. It's about financial insulation. By shifting focus from people to properties, the church reduces risk. Members may leave, lawsuits may come, but buildings, they don't speak, and they don't run. This empire isn't built on donations alone. It's built on silence and concrete. If joining is seductive, leaving is terrifying. Former members, especially public figures, describe a harrowing process of psychological unbinding from Scientology. But it's not just about walking away, it's about surviving the aftermath. Many report being followed by private investigators. Others say friends and family members still inside the church abruptly cut all contact, labeling them suppressive persons or SPs. Even loved ones can become weaponized through a process called disconnection, and the pressure doesn't stop there. Ex-members have received threatening letters. Some have lost careers. Others faced online defamation campaigns, websites and articles smearing their reputations, often using intimate details gathered during auditing sessions. One whistleblower called it emotional carpet bombing. The goal? To make leaving so brutal that staying feels safer. For celebrities, the threat is even sharper. With public image at stake, they risk headlines, lost endorsements, and ruined relationships. This isn't just a church policy, it's a containment strategy. And for many, it works. Why hasn't Scientology been taken down by the courts? Because it's built a legal firewall few can afford to challenge. The church has spent decades weaponizing litigation, filing lawsuits, counter-lawsuits, and legal complaints so costly and time-consuming, most critics eventually fold. The goal isn't always to win. It's to drain, to intimidate, to delay. The church also forces internal disputes into binding arbitration, often with judges or mediators tied to the church. This prevents lawsuits from going public, stifles testimony, and keeps damaging documents out of the press. When former members sue, they're often met with a barrage of legal obstacles, demands for confidentiality, challenges to their credibility, and motions to dismiss based on religious freedom. One attorney said, "It's like suing a ghost in a fortress, with booby traps at every door." The church doesn't just defend itself, it exhausts the opposition until justice becomes too expensive to chase. The most dangerous threat to Scientology isn't lawsuits, documentaries, or even former celebrities. It's the quiet awakening happening online. Young creators are questioning legacy institutions. TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, platforms are now filled with stories from ex-members, leaked internal documents, and deep-dive investigations. Podcasts discuss church doctrines, former insiders host live streams, and anonymous tip lines are gathering evidence once thought lost. Some Gen Z actors are recording their audits without church approval. Others are warning peers privately before they ever take a personality test. It's not activism, it's cultural immunity. A former Sea Org member, now in her 20s, put it bluntly, "They taught us to fear everything outside. But out here, I finally heard the truth." The church's most powerful weapon has always been isolation. But in the digital age, secrets leak, fast. And once exposed, they don't go back in the vault. Hollywood thrives on illusion, but the truth, it always finds a way out. The church may still have money, power, and property, but what it's losing every single day is fear. Once fear is gone, control crumbles.